Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to learn about the lower unity and how it really connects all the way back to the essence of God. So we're going to learn how to connect the lower unity all the way back to the essence of God. And it's going to be really, really interesting because we're going to find out how communication really works. Like if you want to, let's say you want to change something inside your body, the way you would do it is you would actually use words, just the right words. Like if you wanted your heartbeat to slow down, you would actually say to your heart, slow down. That's the way to get it done. I mean, maybe willpower works, but for most people, the way to slow down your heartbeat is to say, slow down, and it would slow down. Because internal communication between the different um, like internal computers that God Almighty created us with, internal communication is done with words. I know there's a Wim Hof, let's say, he's a fellow that shows how it's possible to do internal communication even with the innate immune system. So what he does is he's called the Iceman, because he can sit in a bath of ice for almost 2 hours. But there's a method. There's a method which it's a teachable method. So in Europe, they injected him with some Somalia, actually, and within 15 minutes he was able to tell uh, the immune system to turn off to kill that bacteria. And it's not that he's amazing. He actually took a group of students that didn't know anything, to spend about 4 days, and he taught them how to do it. So the basic method is he takes deep breaths, hyperventilates, and but basically if a person breathes too much, there is basically there's a lot of oxygen in the blood, but not enough transferal from the blood to the vital organs, because the transferal takes a lot of time. So if a person's busy breathing too much, so there's a lot of blood in the oxygen, there's a lot of oxygen in the blood, but it doesn't get transferred to the vital organs, and a person goes into a panic. The brain goes into a panic mode. So then he, let's say, takes 30 breaths or whatever it is, and he's starting to feel dizzy, and takes the breath hold. The magic of the breath hold is that the oxygen moves from the blood to the vital organs. So after a while, the brain is going to get back clarity again. In the meantime, when he's over breathing, the brain is panicking, and when he goes into the breath hold, he actually at that time the body is vulnerable and is ready and open to listen to commands. And he uses, I understand that he uses words to tell his innate immune system to do what it needs to do. So let's say a person wanted to change their metabolism and they wanted to speed it up or slow it down, depending what. They would do it. They would do it using words. So it's all done using words, just the right words. Now, let's see this idea inside, because we see words are a system of communication on all levels, even very deep levels of the soul. And that is actually going to help us understand how there's oneness, how really this idea exists all the way back, or all the way back to the essence of God. So the fact that we are the thoughts of God, so the fact that we exist and things exist doesn't add or subtract to God, because in a way, in potential, we were always there. Lamed Ches, chapter 38. Hine me'ata. Now, yesh lema derech prat. We can learn the parts. Yesa, we can learn more parts. Binyan alavushim nachshavadim remaisa, in the idea of clothes of thought, speech, and action. Why is it clothes? Humans are unique that we can change and choose our clothes. We can take off clothes, we can put on clothes. Animals don't do that. They don't really have a choice to what they think, because That's like they just wear the same clothes. They wear the same jacket all the time, because they don't have a choice what they think. But it's clothes. We can take off our clothes. That's the same idea as we can take and change and choose our thought, speech, and action. Like it's written that God created clothes for the holy 10 spheres. And by the way, we are the clothes. We people are the clothes of the holy 10 spheres. Or our souls are at least, yeah. Now, to understand this, we need to understand the source and the living root and source of letters. And sometimes letters are called vessels, and sometimes they're called clothes. In other words, kalim is a vessel that let's say you can't change, that the meaning is integral to the presentation. And levushim means that you have a choice. You can keep on changing them to bring over a certain subject. What do we mean? Let's say words. In order for a group of words to create a paragraph that conveys a certain message, we all have to agree what the definition of those words are in order for all of us to get the same meaning. So that would be kalim, that would be a vessel, a set definition. Levusha means we have the choice of different types of words to bring over the bigger concept, the concept of the paragraph, or the story trying to sell. So the story has levushin, has clothes. Different people can use different clothes to say the same thing. But we all have to agree on the meaning of the actual words. That would be a vessel. Now then afterwards we're going to explain in more parts, but we're going to understand the idea of Rachel. Rachel is the larger than life. Life itself, Rachel is God's speech, but Leah represents God's thinking. Malchus de Tfuna, and what feeds Leah is the expression of God's application. Tfuna is application. Malchus is the leadership, the application of the Tfuna. Ubina, and also Bina is God's comprehension. Adrum Amailas, and we can understand that this basically repeats itself on all the level, on the parallel universes, but also when we even get higher than any universes, on deep levels in our soul, same deeper levels in the spiritual system of creating the worlds. The Hine, now behold, Sherish Isis, the source of all letters. So we have letters, and the letters join together, and they become words, and then the words join together and become paragraphs. Yeah, the source of letters. Who nefesh? It's actually in the essence of the soul, mamish itself. The nefesh malaya is the soul. By very definition, is full of letters. Souls, just like just this is one of the things that souls can do. Like it's known v'hainu as cholas etzem hisavusa. In the beginning of creating a soul, it already has letters. Uveveis efanim. There are actually two types of soul, or letters that already exist in the soul. Soul is in its very identity. But there's letters that capture thought. But there's letters that capture words, which is communication. So in other words, thinking for oneself and then thinking in order to communicate. As soon as the essence of somebody's soul is created, there already is letters there. Machshava, of thought. And in essence, there are there. So the lower unity is always there. It's not something that's created later on. The lower unity is always there, and they are connected in essence. It's the same way as a living thing can move. Just like a living thing can move, the soul has vessels of communication, letters. Machshava, and they actually come out, they break through, they become revealed in the thought, conscious thought, begimel madreges, in 3 levels. Now let's understand, what do we mean 3 levels? Just like a child develops, the first thing happens when a baby comes out is dimium vitzir below Isis. We see a picture. Dimion is like an imagination, an internal representation, a picture below Isis without division of letters, klal, at all. We're going to say when a baby's looking at a picture, letters would be that, there's a table, there's a light, there's a mommy, there's siblings, there's a tati. These are oisius. Each one is a letter. They mean something as a word, right? But the first thing the baby sees, he's not differentiating. It just sees a photograph. You know how the old cameras would just take a snapshot of a photograph, but then the later cameras can pick up where the face is, right? They got a little bit of artificial intelligence, they're able to pick up a face. That's the second level. When we're able to divide up and recognize certain things in the photo, that's a second level. The first level is just one big picture. Bloisius klal has no division of letters. Ve'esis pshutim mevulvalim. The next level, so it's level number 2, is simple letters all mixed up, mevulvalim, all mixed up, velit siruf, without any organization, v'chibur, and connection, inyan davar ma, to any certain message. In other words, what the child is doing is dividing. Oh, this is a wheel, and this is a car, and this is a milk bottle. And then at one point in time, the baby recognized, oh, this is my hand, right? But there's no story made. I'm just recognizing these things. I'm not making a picture. I'm not creating a picture. That requires a higher talent. The next one is I'm going to connect up all these separate letters using my thinking thoughts. In other words, I'm going to picture what I'm going to do before I do it in an organized way. That's a deeper level. So the first one is just like seeing pictures, then be able to divide them up into things. That's considered a bunch of letters, and then actually being able to build what I want to do before I do it. Picture what I want to do before I would do it. That's a much greater level. The same way, in the essence of the soul, there was always letters of words. Because the soul is a speaking soul. Okay, so what makes us human is really the fact that we can verbally communicate. We are soul that speaks. A ruach memalala, a spirit that talks. The letters are connected integrally in the essence. That's the very definition of a soul. And they become revealed the same way as a living thing can move. Gavna, and similar metaphors. Just like the sun shines, living things move. The souls are able to make internal representations of the outside world. So they can also make letters, speaking letters, visual letters. Doesn't matter, they're always there. Kidibur shemalachim, just like angels, by the way. Angels are also medaber, they're also speakers, and they're able to speak to each other. Diksiv, like it's written, they call out to each other. The angels call out to each other. V'hu gamkein begimel madregas. And by the way, when it comes to audio, so we just dealt with visual, now audio, there's also 3 levels. It's the actual vibration. You know that on the in the hertz, on the waves per minute, even audio has certain hertz. Then radio as the number of waves becomes larger per second, it becomes radio waves, low frequency, high frequency, very high frequency, ultra high frequency, microwave. It all depends on how many waves per second. So audio has a certain amount of waves per second. Essentially, visual light. Oh, after microwave, you have visual light. So visual light and audio really the same thing. They're frequencies of vibrations, just that that audio is a very low frequency, and basically the air rubs on each other, and that's how the sound travels. So it's the actual wave of the sound. It's called the breath of the spirit that speaks. That's number one. The right? The next level is the recognition of different letters without connecting them up into any organized fashion. So this is basically when you learn a new language, and it just all sounds like the same thing. But then when you listen to it for a long time, for 30 days, your ear starts to divide up different words said in that language, and you start to getting a recognition of different words. So that's like the Aleph, Beis, Gimel, Daled, like different letters that you don't know how to organize it, but you've divided them up. You know when a word finishes and you've recognized the word. So this is called Shanikra. And the third one is V'chibur Eisis Anikra Tzura. Now we're going to connect up the words or the letters, and it's already a picture, a picture in the audio. A picture to the audio means that the words are organized. Baruch Mamalala, and the speaking spirit. Kamei Beis Ruchas Mesapres, just like two spirits spoke, or the Kedibur HaMalachim, like the angels. So they have a form of telepathy. Basically, souls speak when they don't have bodies with each other, and angels speak. They just, that the frequency is not the same frequency as our ear would be able to pick up. But certain people were so sensitive and trained that they have the hardware, like the heart, is able to pick up those frequencies and to be able to make an internal representation of what is going through the air. So the story goes that the story in the Gemara, if you look at 27, you'll find out where it is. Story of the Gemara is that there was a fellow and he didn't have money. Yeah, brachas. Okay, so the fellow, you want to go to brachas Yud Ches? It's a very interesting story. Okay, so there's a Maisa that one pious person, he gave a dinner to a poor person erev Rosh Hashanah, and it was the years where there was not much food. Viknita to Ishtay, and his wife made him upset. So Vahalach Valan Bebeis Akfaris, so he went to go to sleep in the.
His wife mocked him. It says, like, she
wife mocked him. Yeah. So he went and went to sleep in the cemetery. Vishama, that was the only comfortable place. Vishama shtei ruchos shemasaper zu lezu, and he heard that there was two spirits that were speaking to each other. Not that he heard, wasn't he had the sensitivity to be able to pick up the wave. Sorry, it's getting small.
Yeah.
So one spirit said to the other one, hey, let's, my friend, let's go. Those two girls, they passed away recently, and they said, let's fly in the world. Nishma Machrei Pargad, and we can hear from the back of the curtain, which is basically, curtain is code for Malchus of Atzilus. Ma Pur anus bala elam. What type of bad things will come to the world this year? Because it's Rosh Hashanah, the world is being judged. Everything's being planned. If we go to Malchus Datzilus, we know what's going to happen. It's interesting. Amla Chaverta, her friend said, "Eini yechel, I can't." Shani Kavura b'machatzela shel kanim, because she's buried in a um type of, what's machatzelas? It's a
Here,
what is it?
a mat of reeds.
Mat of reeds. Okay, let's go back to the Hebrew. So mat of reeds. So the problem is the family, when they buried her, they didn't have money, so they buried her in a mat of reeds. The problem is the body didn't um, fall apart, and as long as the body doesn't fall apart, the soul it's connected to the body and doesn't have the freedom to fly anywhere. It can't go to Malchus Datzilus. So it says, I can't go. You can, because your body disintegrated already, but my body didn't disintegrate yet, so I'm stuck. Elichiyat, you go. Umatchat shemas imili, and what you hear over there, tell me. So the other girl that her body disintegrated already, she flew and she came back. Amra lachaverta. So then her friend that was still stuck by her grave, he says, Chavrasi, my dear friend, Masha Mas Machoria Pargud, what did you hear from the behind the curtain, which is Malchus Datzilus? Amra La, so she told her, Shamati Shakol Azarea Berivia, B'Shena, anybody that plants in the first rain, there's like groups of rains, right? Especially in Israel, it could be like clockwork. So it's going to be in September. There's going to be after September, October. There's going to be a first rain, second rain, third rain, like clockwork. So it's anybody that plants in the first rain, Barad Malka Isa, but there's going to be hail that's going to destroy the food, to destroy the crop. So he knew to wait, and he only planted for the second rain. So everybody else that planted had damaged crop, and his wasn't damaged, so the guy was able to sell. Let's go further. Lashana Acheres, another year, Halach Velan Bebeis Akvaris. He saw that it was profitable, right? And he wasn't fighting with his wife. He had money, but he saw that it was a good venture. So he went and he slept overnight on Rosh Hashanah in the cemetery. And he overheard the conversation of these two girls speaking to each other. One said to a friend, let's go fly in the world. We'll hear from behind the curtain what things of punishment will come to the world. She said to her friend, my friend, didn't I tell you last year? I'm not able because I'm buried in a, what was that again? Of reeds?
Right.
And her body doesn't disintegrate. So my soul's still stuck connected to my body. Ella lechiat, you go. Umajat shamas, what you hear, boy vamrili, you tell me. So the girl that had a disintegrated body, she went and flew. And she came back. So a friend asked her, my dear friend, what did you hear behind the curtain? She said to him, Shekol Azarea Berevia Shnia, Shidofen Malkaisa. Anybody that plants in the second rain, it's going to be swamped. It's going to rot if you have too much water. You need a little bit of water. You need like to cause the, 1 second, we didn't finish that. Yeah,
No, this rainy. The second blight. It's a blight. They're translating as blight.
Blight is too much water.
It's the thing that comes after it. Like the leaves turn that yellowish, blotchy color after too much rain.
It's gonna rot. Yeah, that's when you overwater something. So so he actually put seeds in for the first rain. Everybody else's became yellow, and his was nice and green. Now his wife started to become suspicious. Why is it that the entire world and everybody else that planted their planting was destroyed and yours didn't, and you could sell for a lot of money? And now, oh, that was 2 years ago, and now or everybody else's became yellow nishtaf, and yours wasn't oversoaked. So he told her the story. Amru, they told him, it wasn't a long time when there was a fight between the wife of this pious man and the mother of that young girl that died and was buried in the reeds. Amrallah, the wife of this pious man, said, L'chi vere bitech ve'erech bitech she'ikvura b'machatzela shel kanim. She said, "Go show your daughter that's buried in a mat of reeds." Because they were so poor, they didn't tell anybody. But she found out. Lashon Acheres. So then it was already dealing with a third year. Halach v'lan bebeis hakfaros. He went to go to sleep on Rosh Hashanah in the Beis HaKfaros. And he heard those spirits talking to each other. Again, it's not audio. He was sensitive to a different frequency. Amrallah. So one girl said to the other, Chevrasi, my friend, let's go fly in the world. Let's listen behind the curtain. Maparonis by Leilam, what punishment comes to the world? Amrallah. She said back, Chevarti, my friend, Hani, leave me, let me be. Dvarim shebeini ubeinayich, private conversations between me and you, Kfar Nishmo ben Achaim was already heard amongst the living. Alma Yadoit. So we see that people that pass away know what's happening in the world. So some people say he shouldn't have told his wife. That's what he gets for he gave one dinner to a poor person. He got profitable for 2 years. Anyway, so but how's it negaya to us? Let's go back to our learning, because now we really get a good idea that there are different frequencies. Just because we can't pick it up with our audio ears doesn't mean that there aren't other conversations that are happening at the same time, just like radio is happening and our ears don't pick it up. So let's look back inside. And that's when the angels speak to each other and they say, holy, 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 right? It's happening. It's just that our audio ears don't pick it up, and we would just be listening the whole day if we could hear. Apparently, it's the most beautiful music. People that have heard it and came back said it's the most beautiful music. When the angels speak to each other, they're doing it all day. We don't hear because we would lose our freedom of choice. We would just be enjoying the praise of God. Now, even before simple, undefined desire and want, an undefined accomplishment, pleasure, there already is words in the essence of the soul. As soon as the want to do something becomes evident, so the want has to be revealed. Nikra Oisius the Rotten, and already has words that are going to capture this want. Basically, what words are is now the communication, the revelation of this want. To make it something concrete, to be able to differentiate this want from anything else. That it's now in the category of a want. That is the idea of what Isis, what let us do in the essence of the soul, that they define something that it now can be communicated somewhere. Is basically the ability to reveal the atoms, that's atom of the soul in any way that it wants. To make something concrete, differentiated from other things. It's through these letters, revelation happens from the potential. So that is the function of letters. What it is the revelation of something, of a definition. Like it's written in Tanya of the Alter Rebbe, there are 22 letters that are installed in the soul. They're basically 22 notes, hanefesh of the soul. There are 22 notes of the soul, and they're going to be used to define anything the soul wants, to be able to reveal anything. But through this, a want can now be revealed. Now it can be communicated to the intellectual system of the soul. If you couldn't define the want or reveal the want in words, the fact that this can be, oh, he wants this, right? Without that ability to say, I want, to define what he wants, this hidden want that's in the essence, that's healed, it wouldn't come in another clothes to transfer it from one domain to another. Because you have a want that is now seeable, revealable, baseichel, in the domain of intellect, vitam, reasoning, l'ratzon, to this reasoning, kiyadua. In other words, how are you going to transport the fact that somebody wants to the intellectual department? There has to be a way to reveal it, that information can be transported to the intellectual department. Now, you, intellectual department, find a logic to what I want. You do it like it's known. Badal, and this is enough for the understanding. No, so too, now that it's in the intellectual domain, vitam and reasons, l'rotzen, for this want, shenikra chachma sheberotzen. This is called the insight inside the want. Now that you can have an actual concrete reasoning for this want, this is the letters inside it. Through this, it can be transported from domain to domain. Where does it need to go now? It needs to go to the emotions in the want. So it went from the department of the intellectual department. Now it's going into the emotional. What type of the motion department? For example, love inside want. Because love in a want is also want. It's just that it's now presenting itself as love. Because he wants something, that's why he loves. So va'ava, love, Loshen Ava in Hebrew, it's really the same word as Abba. Abba means to want. Vahei, and with an extra hey. So Ava is, you add a hey and it becomes Ahava. Ava, which means to want, becomes Ahava. What's the hey? Hey chasadim. It's the Hamispashtim Machoch Mobina. It's hey, 5 kindnesses that stem from insight and comprehension, and they move. So basically, you have a want, and you have some intellectual definitions from insight and comprehension 5 of them get given to this want, and now it becomes a love. Because love needs a trigger system. What do you love? Is that there's also the opposite of what you don't love. You know, who so the original want, it has an intellect, has a reasoning for this rotzen, as a trigger system when it should be awakened, when it should be what it, also how to identify what he wants, right? This is yes and this is not. That's an intellect. However, it's still, when you create a trigger system for the want, it's still the want before, even higher than Masechel Vatam. It's before it's been moved to intellect and reasoning and definition of when it should be triggered or not. Through letters, now it can be changed and it could be communicated from higher than seichel into seichel. It's like an interface of midas. It's like you're going from PC to Mac. You need some interface, some program that will put the information in a way that the other computer can grasp. So, and now we can go to intellect, then it goes into emotions. And there are letters, a communication system for emotions. This is the fact that what is letters, that the love can now, the love in this one can be seen as something concrete. I love this and not that. Then this want goes down another level and becomes the driver for thought, speech, and action, the kulam, for all of them, and it has to go through domains. Each one has its own individual communication system, letters, until even letters in the want to take action. Action also has its own letters. It's like pictures, movement. When the actual action goes up in a person's wants, it has its own special letters. And the same thing in intellect, that's right after, in other words, the intellect that's triggered right after the want. If the intellect could not be quantified into letters, of letters that are of intellect, which reveals the intellect into something that's concrete. So how could the intellect now be able to transport that into a different domain, into love, which gets born because of the intellect? Because also over there, because the intellect had its own letters before the love was triggered, but now the same letters now put on the clothes of love. And this is only made possible through a communication system of letters inside it. Also the emotions in actual thought. If the emotion that feeds the thought, that drives the thought, if it could not be quantified into something concrete, with certain letters, so then how would it be able to communicate and be transported into an audible thought? And also audible thought becoming something that's speech. If there's not something in between, a language where they can both understand, it wouldn't be able to be transported from thought to speech. It turns out that through letters, there's this chain order of ilav alul, cause and derivative, metzam and nefesh, it comes all the way to from the essence of the soul, atziva might say, till the end of action. So there's like at least 5 levels over here. But shurish aisius who betzam and nefesh, and the source of the ability to quantify things and to reveal things is in the essence of the soul, mamish. In actual fact, it turns out that the root where letters are dug from, cut out from, betzem nefesh, in the essence of the soul, these letters are created with the essence of the soul at the same time, just like by definition movement is part of the essence of the soul, and similar metaphor vidalance. Now what we said is enough from the understanding, but now let's understand our purpose is not to understand the world better. That's not really the intent of what we're studying. The purpose is to understand the oneness of God. So now let's understand the Nimshal with a little bit of insight. This gives us insight into what's actually going on in the bigger world. We're all letters inside God. So we also exist on many dimensions. You realize that if we're letters inside God, and God and letters exist from the essence of the soul, that means we exist on many dimensions at the same time. So it's Hari move, and it's understood Mimelo automatically the Isis Shubatira a law. The letters that are in the upper unity we said is that it's the higher purity. Like you have pure gold and you don't have, and if you add a little bit of another metal to the gold, it immediately changes color. So higher purity, we mean gold, just gold alone. So in other words, the essence of God, even there where there's nothing else, there's already letters. Sha'amar, in that place, God spoke to himself, in other words, a form of internal communication. Golif Galifu V'Tiura, he made hieroglyphics, he pictured everything out. He has these essential letters of thought and dibur and communication about atmosphere and so forth, and it's in the essence of God. With seemingly things, well, these things don't exist. Well, they do exist. They always were there, basically. For example, by way of metaphor, you have letters that are installed already in the essence of the soul, in the in Yechida, in the deepest aspect of the soul, where there's only oneness. They're there. Begimal Adregas are now in 3 levels. If you go back to chapter 10, we realize that there's 10 levels. It's reverse engineering. It doesn't exist. So remember we said there's 3 levels in chapter 10. There's the first one, Yachid, Echad, and Kadmein, right? Yachid is when you know by reverse engineering that everything must have been there. Like if somebody organizes a birthday party, you know that they had to be organized and they had to be able to keep it secret. All these things you have to say, oh, this was always in the essence of your soul, that you were able to organize birthday parties, right? And all these different emotions that they were there already, right? So Yechida is everything's one, but you reverse engineer and you realize everything's there. Echad means you realize that there's the 10 spheres are there, but in potential. In other words, the building blocks. You've divided up. You know that there's 10 building blocks. Each one is totally fluid on how it's going to be used. Each one's unlimited. It's infinite, can be used in an infinite amount of ways, but you know that there's these 10 building blocks. That's Echad. And then Kadman means they're already measured. Before they're actually measured, in actuality, they pre-measured of what's going to be. They're already planned out. So these 3 levels exist in the essence, and so 2 letters exist in the essence of God. 3 levels of Yachid, Echad, and Kadmein. And these letters, by a chain order of events, they go and move from one domain to another, from the simple, undefined want, that it came up in God's thoughts, because thoughts always existed, right? They came out of God's thoughts. Ana emlech, I'm going to express myself. I'm going to be a leader. And God had these thoughts before the original contraction, when only the infinite was apparent. And then God clarified, and the letters defined and made it possible to communicate the want, the seichel, and then the intellect. In other words, reasoning, what yes, what not, when should be triggered, definitions, umidas, emotions. Emotion means, okay, let's go moving to the movement. And all these things exist on every level. Adam Kadmon, the creation of the first character, the original man, Adam, like Adam Kadmon, the original man, but the higher, um, disconnected, lofty emotions. We said, like last week, when people go, for example, the metaphor, why do people spend so much money to go watch movies? Because it's basically an emotion factory. They want to experience all these emotions. So there's Adam Kadmon, the original man, but there's what emotions he's going to experience in the story of life, which is really the story, the autobiography of God Almighty. So that's Atik Yemin. Va'arechanpin, big faces, big dreams. Like, if we're going to experience these emotions, what are the occurrences? What are the things that are going to capture those emotions? That's Arachanpin, big faces. What are your dreams? So you have the original character, the emotions he's going to experience, the dreams that are going to capture those emotions. Va'aba va'ema, the mother and father, which basically means the advisors in the world of Atzilus, the advisors, which are going to quantify those dreams into something actionable. Vizun is the masculine and feminine aspects of Atzilus, which basically means emotions that we can implement. And Nukva, the feminine aspect, is how can we communicate this? The Atzilus of the world of Atzilus, which is the world where God can express himself, that to people that will be created, and they can relate to him. Every single level, want, intellect, emotion, on each one of those levels goes from one to another through a system of cause and derivative. Basically, it's a lot of waves, a lot of vibrations. It actually transforms from one domain to another through a internal communication system of letters, which defines things. Shall call mahus, of each defined thing. Shubachinas gilayesh, which is basically revealing something to become its concrete definition, but mitzias, to be something as opposed to be the abstract. Outside Maisa, and this communication system continues on until the actual action is implemented. The Malchus Atzilus, when Atzilus is expressed. Shubachinas Eses Amaisa, the Malchus Atzilus, which this is the actions, the letters of action of Malchus of Atzilus, of the world of Atzilus, actually the world we live in. The letters of action, so you, me, and the things and the trees outside and the buildings in the sky, these are the letters of action of the expression of God, Malchus of Atzilus. And Ad Malchus de Asiya, and it continues, this system continues on until what actually creates the physical world is Malchus, the Malchus Atzia, the expression of the world of implementation, the world which we live in, but it has a spiritual backbone, which is there's a back end. This world that we live in, we only see the front end, but there's a back end, like on a website, you have the front end is the interaction,
where the person interacts with the website, and then there's the back end, which is all the programming that makes it do what it does. So our physical world has a back end, and these are 10 spheres of the world of Asiya. The 10 holy spheres. They're really not part of the creation. They're actually an expression of God. They're the 10 spheres of the of Asiya, and the interface between the back end and the actual creation is the expression. However, we don't experience God speaking, so there has to be one level of removal, which is Malchus, the Malchus expression of an expression, which means we're not cognizant of the speaker. It seems like things are rolling on by themselves. And Malchus Asiya is the expression of Asiya, of the world of implementation, which we live in. That's the back end of this world. That is the creator, that is the source, the root that creates our lowly world, which we're going to explain at the end of chapter 54, the end of this section, this what we're learning now. And all this back end is all part and is included in the verse, whatever God wants. He added the words Batzmusa in his essence, Mamish, in his real essence, Mamish, that is what God implements in actuality. Vidal, what we've said is enough to the understanding, because this is really the recurring theme of the Holy Sefer which we're studying, the holy work which we're studying, that whatever God wants in his essence, that's what he does, and by understanding the mechanics of it, it becomes much more real how just by thinking one thing leads to another automatically, and God Almighty controls the world, just like you can choose your thoughts. So it's that easy for him to change things if that's what he wants. Chafetz, if that's what he wants. And I'm sure that this is a fascinating and enlightening chapter. That's it.